And 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 and live. Good luck.
Merhaba arkadaşlar, hepiniz IEFT Talks webinarlarına hoş geldiniz. Bugün Dünya sıralamasında ilk 100'de olan Leiden Üniversitesi'de öğrenci olmak ve Hollanda'da yaşam konulu webinarımızda Diana, Annette ve Naz bizlerle olacak. Lütfen sorularınızı sağ alt köşede Questions bölümünden yönlendirmeyi unutmayın. Yes, Diana, the stage is yours now.
Okay, hello everybody. Great that you're all here. I hope that it means that you're all interested in studying at Leiden Law School. The past couple of years, we were able to come to Turkey ourselves in person to visit Istanbul and to inform you all in person about Leiden Law School and what it is like to study in the Netherlands. Unfortunately, due to COVID, we were not able to travel anymore, but so we are really happy with this online opportunity to meet you all online and answer all your questions. Let me first introduce myself. My name is Diana Kettenis, and I'm working as a marketing communication advisor at Leiden Law School. And today I'm here with my colleague, Miss Annette van Zandwijk. She is the head of our international office, and with one of our Turkish students, Naz Akiozol. I hope I pronounced that correctly. So in the coming hour, first, Ms. van Zandwijk will share a short presentation with you about studying in the Netherlands, studying in Leiden, admissions, scholarships, and all kinds of practical information. And then Naz will also share her experiences with you. And so we hope it will be an interesting webinar where you get to learn a lot more about Leiden University. So first, I would like to ask Ms. van Zandwijk to start your presentation.
Yes, well, hello, welcome everybody. As Diana mentioned, I'm the head of the Office for International Education, which means that we're responsible for the advanced master's programs, but also for a large exchange program, actually. So everything that has to do with international education belongs to our office. And when you come to Leiden, you will be, you will become familiar with the staff in our office because we have staff for all programs who deal with the students beforehand, during their program, and afterwards. So I would like to share my presentation with you. Actually, the picture on the first screen, I wrote it down in the top corner of the screen. It's the Kamerling Honors building, and it's the main building for our law school. The law school has more buildings. There's another building in Leiden, which is called the Observatory. It's a smaller building. It's an official observatory still. And it's about a 10-minute walk from this building. And then, of course, but I will also come back to that later, we have a campus in The Hague. And in The Hague, we also have a law facility. So we're basically everywhere, but let's get started. First, I want to tell you a little bit about Leiden University. It's the oldest university in the Netherlands. It was founded in 1575. And the building you see on this picture, it's the Academy building. This is the building where all official ceremonies are being organized. So if somebody becomes a PhD or gets a PhD promotion, it will be held in here. The inaugural lectures for professors will be held in here. But also, when you get to graduate after your year in Leiden with us, you will also have your graduation ceremony in this building. And it's the building is full of history. I already told you the university dates back to 1575. So it's like a museum, basically, where you're walking around. It's very beautiful. Our university is consistently highly ranked in all the international rankings. And we're also one of Europe's leading research universities. For example, the League of European Research Universities, but we also joined the University Association of Europe. And we engage in a lot of activities in those networks: student exchange, staff exchange, joint research, so many of these activities. The motto of our university is Praesidium Libertatis, which means Bastion of Liberty, which means that we'd like to provide a safe place for everybody to share his or her opinion and have discussions about that. So true academic freedom of thinking. And we have some very famous alumni. For example, our current king, King Willem-Alexander, he used to study history at our university. But also Rembrandt van Rijn, the famous painter, he also studied at Leiden University. So there's some very famous people who are, well, acquainted with the university. And we also have some very famous honorary doctorates, such as Winston Churchill and Nelson Mandela. And the nice thing is, in this academy building, which you see on the screen, there's a room called the Sweat Room. And it's actually called the Sweat Room because people who were about to receive their PhD degree had to wait in that room before they would hear the final verdict. So of course they were a little bit worried. They might have been sweating. So that's why it's called the Sweat Room. But nowadays, everybody who gets to graduate gets assigned the wall in this Sweat Room. And you can see some very famous signatures on that wall as well. So when you get to Leiden and when you graduate, your name will be on the wall as well, together with some very famous names. Leiden Law School, as I told you, one of the 7 faculties in Leiden University, is a rather large law school. We have about 5,500 students, some 500 staff. And as I mentioned before, we're located in 3 different locations, 2 in Leiden and 1 in The Hague. And I will come back to the locations of The Hague and Leiden later on, but already to give you an idea, Leiden and The Hague by train, they're only 12 train minutes away from each other. So I've been to Istanbul, I've been to Ankara, and I know it takes you much, much longer to go from one side of the city to the other side of the city than it takes you to travel from Leiden to The Hague. So don't be worried that the university is in 2 different locations. We offer a very wide range of sub-disciplines we're known for, and we offer bachelor, master, and as we are a research university, we also offer a PhD program. On the picture, you can see the law library, which is a very nice library, I think, a very nice atmosphere, where you get to, of course, where you get to study. Leiden Law School is an international law school. We have around 80 different partner universities worldwide, cooperation agreements with them, including Oxford University, but also Cornell Law School in the US. We work together with Peking University. In Turkey, we work together with Istanbul University, Koç University, and Bilkent University. And yearly, of course, during the pandemic, the numbers were a little bit lower, but we receive around 700 international law students in the law school. So when you walk around our buildings, you will hear, well, you will hear English most of the time, together with Dutch, of course, because that's our national language. But you will hear a variety of different languages because students really come from all over the world. I think right now in our LLM programs, I think we have around 60 different nationalities. So students really, well, they come from everywhere. I already mentioned that the university ranks high in all the university rankings, but there are also special law rankings. And we're very proud, of course, we know sometimes, or we know that subjects, the rankings are somewhat subjective, but they do give a good indication of where a university or a law school, well, is in the world. And we're very proud and happy with our current rankings. We rank number 24 in the QS World University Rankings by law, and number 27 in the Times Higher Education ranking for law. So that will give you, I think, a good indication at least that Leiden Law School is, well, is a good law school. In the picture here, it's actually the start of the introduction week, and usually students get to take a picture. The introduction week, actually next week, we will have another introduction week for the new students for the 2nd semester. Let me continue to the next slide. Oh, seems like it's stuck. Oh, there it is. The programs that we offer, there are quite a few programs actually. We offer regular LLM programs and advanced master's programs. I will tell you the difference in general about those 2 programs, and I think our current student can also tell us a little bit more later on why she chose her particular program. The regular LLM programs, they are part of the 3+1 system for legal education in the Netherlands. If you want to become a lawyer in the Netherlands, you have to do a 3-year bachelor plus a 1-year master's program. Without the 1-year master's, you cannot get access to the bar. So it's compulsory for Dutch students, if they want to do this, to do the 3+1. That one part is the master's part. It's the part where you do your master's program. Of course, we offer many Dutch programs, but we also have some English taught programs. And in these programs, the nice thing is that you will be with Dutch students and with international students. The Dutch students usually already have an international mind. They are already looking for international careers, so that's why they choose to do those programs. And they will be joined by the international students. The group sizes of these programs can vary very much. The smallest program, they have like 35 students in total, but the larger programs, they can have up to 150 students. This is not necessarily a bad thing because there will be bigger lectures where you're all together, but there will also be smaller seminars where you will be in groups with 25 students, for example. So the 150 would be the total group total. And work experience for those programs is not required. So if you have a law degree from Turkey and you do not have any work experience yet, you are eligible for these programs. And there is a difference with the advanced master's programs that I'll come back to later. There are two types of tuition fees. The European tuition fee, which is what we call a low fee because it is a low fee. And there's a fee for non-EU students because the non-EU students do not get financed by the government. So we have to charge the students what we need to basically offer the program. So for non-EU students, there's the higher fee. On the picture, you can see the city center of Leiden. You can see the cobblestone streets. You see the bicycle, which is really a favorite way of transportation in Leiden and in The Hague. And now let's continue to the advanced master's programs. Oh, first I'm going to explain which programs I have for the regular LLM. It's Law and Society. It's actually an MSc program. We have European Law. We have a program Crime and Criminal Justice. And we have a program in Public International Law. Then for the advanced master's programs, these are very specialized programs. I will show you the names of the programs in a while. And they use the so-called Socratic teaching method. It's interactive teaching. You're really expected to engage in discussions, ask questions, really become engaged in discussion. And we think that's a really good way to learn. It's very in-depth education. It's the highest level of education in Leiden Law School. And as you can see, generally speaking, the group size is smaller than the regular master's programs. This year, I think it had to do with Corona and many students postponed their program with us from previous years. So some programs are really big. Our Law and Digital Technologies program has 54 students right now. But usually the group size is between 20 to 40 students. And as you can see, basically 98% or sometimes almost 100% of these students is an international student. So all these students, they bring their legal background, they bring their cultural background to the classroom. So you not only learn from the professor, but you will also learn from each other. And I think, well, especially with law, getting to hear different perspectives can be very useful. For these programs, work experience is required. When we look at your application, and I will come back to that later, this will be a part of the assessment. And work experience, sometimes it can be a couple of internships, but also a couple of years of work experience. It depends on your whole application, whether you will be a good candidate. And we're also very proud of the fact that the programs are labeled excellent by the Dutch-Flemish Accreditation Organization. It's an organization that checks all programs every 6 years. And excellent is actually the highest label, and it's a label not given that often. So we were really happy with it. The bad thing is that the NVO skipped this label as of, I think, this year or something. So then it will just be pass or fail, I think. But as long as we can, well, use the label, we're going to use it because we're proud of it. And I told you about the difference in tuition fees with the regular master's programs. With the advanced master's programs, there is one high fee for all students. So this is just, the programs, as I mentioned, they're fully accredited, but they're not financed by the government. So that's why we have to charge the higher fee. And I will show you the programs. We have a program in air and space law, in European and international business law. And I think Nas can tell a little bit more about that as well. We have a program in European and international human rights law, international civil and commercial law, international children's rights, international dispute settlement and arbitration, law and digital technologies, public international law, and law and finance. Nes, would you like to tell the students a little bit about your experience on how to choose a program? Did you already know what the difference between a regular master's and an advanced master's was? How did you come about your choice also for Leiden? Was it difficult? Tell us a little bit more.
Leiden was my dream school, so that choice wasn't difficult at all. I learned about the school in my sophomore year because I had a professor who had studied in Leiden, and ever since, that was my dream school. And I had the chance to meet Professor Rick Lawson in my junior year. He gave this Cleveringa speech in Koç. And that was also a more motivating encounter to apply to Leiden. And actually, at some point, I decided to apply to like 5-6 Dutch universities. And I had already gotten an acceptance from one prestigious university. I don't want to name it. And then my professor told me, like, all of the Dutch schools are good, but the royal family sends their kids to Leiden. There is a reason for that. And that's why I applied to Leiden. Because at that point, I thought Leiden was too good for me and they wouldn't accept me because I had just graduated. And although I had some internship experiences, I didn't have like real work experience. And that was also a factor that impacted my choice of programs. Well, first, I thought about applying to the public international law program, but considering the career prospects, I realized that it wasn't the right path for me because I already had a business administration major as well in my undergraduate years. That's why I wanted to do something more about the business and trade focus. That's why my choices were between the international dispute settlement and arbitration and my current program, EIBL. And the other program required 2 years of work experience. So that's why I didn't apply to that one. And I applied to my current program. I don't regret it at all. I'm really happy here because of the variety of courses, the professor's experience, and my classmates are also really diverse. There aren't a lot of Dutch students and European students. No Dutch students, but some European students because of the tuition fee things you just mentioned. That made it even more international. And I almost every day learned some things that I would never have the chance to learn because everyone is from a different background with different experiences. But there are a lot of Turkish students as well. In my program, we are 40 people and 9 of us are Turkish. 3 of us applied straight out of university and the rest of us had like 2 to 3 years work experience before applying to Leiden. So
okay, well, thank you. Yeah, and you're halfway now, of course. So there's more to come for the next semester. But it sounds like you did good thinking about where to study and which program. And I think that's also for all students important. Really choose your program well. And I will get back to that later on, but also when you write your motivation letter, also be very specific because you are allowed to apply for more than one program with Leiden Law School. But the program, the admission committees, they can really tell whether you've just been copy and pasting your motivation letter. And so you really have to be specific in there, but I will get back to that later. Let's continue. Wait a bit. Well, we already talked a little bit about eligibility, and Nas did as well. For the programs in general, all programs, you need a law degree that from a leading university that gives you access to the judicial profession, or at least you should have a real law degree. For the regular master's programs, we aim at a GPA of 3.0 to 4.0, and for the advanced masters of 3.5 out of 4. Again, just as I mentioned, and I think just as Nas confirmed as well, we do not look at just only one part of your application. We look at all aspects of your application. So for example, if you have not that much work experience, but you have good grades or you have very good recommendation letters, that will definitely help you. So If you're worried, the best way to find out whether you're eligible, and it says, well, below here, you must apply to find out. With regards to language requirements, we require an IELTS of 7.0 and a TOEFL of 100. And you have to have a minimum score for writing. For IELTS, that is a 6.5, and for TOEFL, 22. Law, of course, is all about language, and also what you need to do a lot of writing. So it's not like we want to be very strict, but you really need these language skills in order to succeed during your program. In case you did a test and you just failed the test, you just had a 6.5 for your TOEFL, or like a 95 or something for your IELTS, or 95 for your TOEFL, there is a possibility that you will be offered a place in our Pre-Sessional English course. It's a 4-week course. It starts 4 weeks before the start of the program. The costs are, I think, around 1,250 euros for 4 weeks of language tuition. But we guarantee you that in those 4 weeks, because it's a very intensive program, that you will be able to get the required language score. So instead of retaking a language test when you have failed, this might be another solution. And the nice thing is that during those 4 weeks, our office, we organize social activities for students in that program, because of course the university has not officially started yet. So it can be a little bit quiet maybe, but we organize activities for the students in that program. One of the other requirements is a motivation statement. I mentioned it before. It's really important to be very specific about why you would like to study a particular program. So maybe it's because you have already a certain career in mind, because you already got acquainted with certain topics or subjects during your university life. This could be anything, but be specific, because that's really what the programs would like to see. And we also need 2 reference letters, 2 letters of recommendation. And one can be from an academic person. So, for example, a professor who knows you very well. The other one can also be, for example, from somebody who knows you from work or from another place. But the letters of recommendation, they will provide us a good picture of who you are as a student. I mentioned it before, for the advanced master's work experience is, well, highly recommended. And this can be anything from up to, like I said, internships to a couple of years of work experience, just actually as Naz explained. And again, I mentioned it, you really must apply to find out. Sometimes we get many requests from students asking, I have a certain grade for my university degree, will this be enough? It's not up to us to decide. The admissions office on central level will do the first check of your application, and then it will be forwarded to the faculty. So you really have to apply first. Also important, apply early for various reasons. First of all, I think it's very good if you start preparing in advance, because going abroad for a whole year, it's a large step. It's not the same as going on a vacation. So it would be good to apply early. But we also have deadlines, of course, and there are also scholarship deadlines you have to adhere to. So most of our programs, they have a deadline of 1st of April. So that's the official deadline for all programs. But if you have an EU nationality, you can also apply before the 15th of June. The first start of your application is to register in StudyLink, which is the national registration system. And then within some time, you will receive login details for the Leiden application system. And this is where you have to upload your documents, etc., pay the application fee, and await the admissions decision, which can take up 4 to 6 weeks. And I'm curious, Naz, how long did it take with you? Because sometimes I hear different stories.
The application was really fast. I got admitted in like 1.5 weeks, but the residence permit was painful. I had to submit certain bank documents like 3 times or so, and that took a really, really long time, even though I had everything, because it's a lengthy process. It's must be uploaded at once, and then it's evaluated, and then you have to upload some stuff again, and you have to wait for an answer if you can make it or not. That part was bad, but the applications were really smooth.
Well, good to hear that. And you're right, the residence permit or the visa application can be quite challenging. So it's always, again, good to start on time. Also, because I don't know whether I mentioned it. No, I'm not sure I mentioned it in this presentation. Maybe we'll come back later. But also because of housing. And we already talked a little bit about this before the presentation with Naz and with Diana. Housing can be problematic. Leiden, it's a typical student city with many students, and also some University of Applied Sciences are in Leiden. So there is, it's difficult to find housing. The university has housing of its own, or actually has reserved housing with a large housing provider in Leiden, but it's not enough for everybody. So we advise you, if you want to make use of this, to start, well, to apply as soon as possible and pay your housing fee as soon as possible, because they will work on a first come, first based list. So so in that respect, it's really advisable to apply early. At the same time, if you apply a little bit later, you can still apply for the housing services of the university. But it's also very important to start looking for alternatives by yourself, because again, it can be problematic. It's the same for The Hague, also a big city. And it's not just our two cities, it's the same in the Netherlands, it's everywhere. Housing is a problem. And on the website, we even state that if you haven't found housing before you come to Leiden, we advise you actually to stay at home and maybe defer your year so you can start looking a little bit earlier for housing. Naz, would you like to tell a little bit about housing, your experiences?
I had a friend who had done her bachelor's in Leiden. She told me to apply to housing as soon as possible because it was really hard for her. I paid that fee you just talked about in February because I was really worried I couldn't find a place. I know some people who paid that fee in June or not at all, thinking that they could somehow make it and find a place on their own. They couldn't. And they had to wait like for 4 months until they were accepted to a house or to a dorm. In itself, like you can always find a place to crash, but that's necessary for legal reasons. You need a citizen service number, and you can only obtain that if you show a rental contract. And without that number, you can't open a bank account, which impacts your daily life. Like many stores don't accept Visa or MasterCards. You have to have Dutch cards. You need that to have a Dutch phone number. And I think there's a legal thing, like you get expelled from the country if you don't obtain a BSN number in 3 months or something like that. Some people get undetected, but that's not a risk worth taking. So finding a housing is crucial. That's the hardest thing about coming here. And after you find a house, everything just goes smoothly and it's perfect.
Good. Well, I'm happy it worked out for you very well. And of course, we do have a lot of international students, and majority of them, they find housing, of course. But again, I think it's really advisable to apply early. I think it increases your chances for sure. Also, financial matters, not unimportant. The tuition fees for next year will be 19,300 euros for non-EU students. If you have the EU nationality, you pay less, as you can see, 22,900. And living expenses, this is always very difficult to give a good indication. Of course, for your visa application, you need a certain amount to show that you have available for each month you're here. I think right now it's around 1,000 or 1,100 euros. I'm not sure. But if we ask students how much they spend per month, we get to hear very different stories. Some students they cook together all of the time. They borrow their books from the library or do everything online. They don't travel too much. Of course, then you do not spend that much money. But we can also understand, and I will show you later on exactly why we're in a very good location in the Netherlands. Students also travel, of course, or do nice things, go out. And of course, these things do cost money. So depending on your spending pattern, I think the living expenses vary between 800 and 1,300 euros per month. Nest, can you give us an indication of whether this works for you, or whether you find the Netherlands expensive or cheaper in some ways?
Besides the obvious currency exchange rate crisis in Turkey, I don't think that Netherlands is really that expensive. Like, I don't go out every day. And there's also the thing, huurtoeslag, like how do you pronounce that? That's really a lifesaver. Like the Dutch state pays half your rent if you are like if you fulfill certain conditions, and that's available to almost every international student. Otherwise, it's around the thing, like the thing you stated in the PowerPoint presentation.
Yeah.
By the way, everyone asks about the scholarships in the questions part. I think this is now a good part. I don't know much about scholarships because I'm not a Jean Monnet scholar, but can you explain that part?
Of course, because scholarships are important. There are various types of scholarships. Our university has its own scholarship program, the Leiden Excellence Scholarship Program. Usually your tuition fee is waived for the larger part if you get one, but you still need to pay the 2,209 euros usually. Actually, the past years, for the previous years, we were able to award one of these scholarships per advanced master's program. So that's to give you an indication of how many there are available. It's, of course, very competitive. But it's always worth a try. And the name says excellent scholarship. Of course, we aim for good students, but we also look for students who have lesser financial means. So write a good motivation letter for this scholarship and maybe you're the lucky one. There's also a Dutch website called, or a Dutch online database, which is called grantfinder.nl. And you type or you tick the box, you're a law student, you want to study in the Netherlands, you're from Turkey, then you get an overview of the possible scholarship possibilities. So maybe there's something in that for you. And well, Matt's already mentioned it, the Jean Monnet scholarships, we participate in that scheme as well. And we receive, I think between 10 to 15 students with a Jean Monnet scholarship every year. You can check out the Jean Monnet scholarship website for Turkey. It explains everything with regards to the website, to the deadlines, etc. But it's a very good scholarship if you get one, because your tuition fee will be paid, your living costs will be paid, and well, basically everything will be paid. So it's a very good scholarship. So be sure to check it out. There are some requirements with regards to the subjects you will be studying. So not every advanced master's program will be well, applicable for this program. But I know, for example, European and International Business Law and I think our Human Rights Law program, they have quite a few of those Jean Monnet scholarship students in the program. So that's basically what I can tell about scholarships. It's always good also to look in your own country, of course, for scholarship possibilities. Sometimes we are unaware of certain things, and it might be good to check that out as well. But it is very important, and you already need to do so, because if you are a visa student, you have to think about your financial situation, but really think about your budget and whether you will be able to, well, whether you have enough money to live in the Netherlands. It would also be very sad, I think, if you are in Leiden or in The Hague studying here and you're not able to do anything because you don't have any money. So really think about this thoroughly. And for example, if it's not possible for you next year to study, why not defer your program another year? So you'll have another year to work, for example, and raise some money for this. So so this is as far as I can tell you with regards to the scholarships. Jean Monnet, really check out their website online. That would be very useful. Then, because this was like the really serious practical part, but we also would like to tell you something about our locations, where Leiden University is located. On the screen, you can see, well, Leiden is here. And I already mentioned it, The Hague. It's only, well, here it says 10 minutes. That's actually a lie because it's 12. But 12 minutes away from Leiden, it's The Hague. So it's very nearby. But also other cities, as you can see, Amsterdam, it's only 25 minutes from Leiden. If you want to travel to Utrecht, I think it's like half an hour or something. To Rotterdam, it's 30 minutes. And from Rotterdam, within 2.5 hours, you're in Paris. I mean, you see the picture of Europe in the background, but you are in a really good location to visit either different cities in the Netherlands. And of course, there are more cities than shown on this picture, because the north has some really very nice cities, and the southern part of the Netherlands as well. But you have easy access to Europe. And especially if you're doing the advanced master's programs, they organize, of course, when Corona, the whole situation allows for it, they organize study trips, for example, to Brussels or to Strasbourg or to Geneva. So you're in this really good location to see the law in practice as well. Leiden, well, I like the city. I don't live there myself. I live in The Hague. But the first time I got there, I really felt I was walking around in this, well, I think I used the word before, but in this open air museum. It's a very historical city. It has a medieval feel, has many museums. It's centrally located, as I've just shown you on the map. And it's a typical student city. 1 in 10 people in Leiden is a student. So there are many student cafes. You see student clubs. There are always students walking around. It has a good location in respect to the location to the airport, only 20 minutes away from Schiphol Airport. And also to the beach. We do have nice weather every now and then in the Netherlands. So then it's really nice to go to the beach when you're in Leiden. Nes, I think you live in Leiden, right?
Yeah, I live in Leiden, and I want to add it's even closer to the airport than Amsterdam. It's
oh, really?
like,
yeah, that's true. Yeah.
14 minutes by train. I love the location of Leiden. Leiden itself is amazing. It's cozy, easy to get around. It's lively. But in the last months, as some of you may know, there were some corona measures and everywhere was closed. But before that, it was really lovely and nice. And in summer months, it was amazing. All of the canals were so beautiful. It wasn't as touristy as Amsterdam. That's why there are no pickpockets and crimes, etc. It's extremely safe. You can walk around at night alone and not be harassed, threatened in any way. And there are lots of museums and restaurants, cafes, nice bars. You can just like chill and drink a beer by the canal. Lots of student organizations. And actually, there are specific student organizations for international students. So you get to meet people who are not in your program, because advanced master's program, as Annette stated, they're a bit, how can I say, not crowded. So for meeting people, there are also opportunities provided by the university. Leiden is amazing. I love Leiden, especially the city center. And it's close to everywhere, and it's so easy to live by. In the Netherlands, I think people usually travel to work. They don't live in the city they work in. And if you're going to work in Amsterdam, The Hague, or Rotterdam, Leiden is the place to live. It's so close to everywhere. I love it here in Leiden.
Good. Well, I agree with you. Even though I don't live there, I think it's a really nice city. Diana lives in between. She lives in Voorschoten. I live in The Hague. And The Hague, as you probably already know, it's the International City of Peace and Justice. So there are many, many international legal organizations and courts. You can see the Peace Palace in the background. But we also have the International Criminal Court. There's so many different courts that Leiden Law School is actually quite happy to be in The Hague as well, because we get to be so close to all these different organizations. And also many of the staff in those organizations, they hold part-time positions in the law school. So within our programs, we really combine theory with practice. The Hague, furthermore, it's also an urban student city. It's also very culturally rich. We have some very beautiful museums. It's very international speaking. I mean, Amsterdam is very international because of the tourists, but I think in the Hague has the most international residents. And of course, that's also because we have all those international organizations, but it has this really international vibe, which I really, really like. Here it says 20 minutes to the beach as well. From where I live on my bicycle, I think it's like 10 to 15 minutes. It's really nice. And The Hague, well, I think it's also a very nice city and very nearby to Leiden, as I mentioned before. Support services, when you come to us, you will, well, I think Nas will already recognize Sheena on the picture, but we have program coordinators for every program who can help you. They are there to answer questions that you may have before your program. But they're also your first point of contact during your program. So if there's anything you'd like to know, you can talk to them and they can either help you or refer you to the right person in the university. We also have international student advisors in the university. We have legal and financial counselors. There's a disability center, so they can help students with disabilities to really get integrated into our community. We have a career services. We have a faculty careers advisor, and every year, and we're about to start soon, we organize special career activities for advanced master's programs. We offer various workshops on how to write your CV and your cover letter, how to use LinkedIn, well, all kinds of things basically that have to do with the career after your program. well, we also offer study abroad possibilities, but usually if you come to us for 1 year, most students find that enough, so they don't go abroad. And I mentioned housing before. We can help you find housing, but as mentioned before, it can be tricky and you have to start early. On the picture, you see some of the program coordinators. We have much more, but many of them sometimes go on maternity leave, etc., and will be replaced. But every program has its own contact person. And when you go to the website, to Leiden University website, to the program page, you will find the contact person for that program on the web page. So you can find their contact details and easily contact them. You can connect with us a little bit further. Of course, our website provides very extensive information. If you go to the program pages, you will find information about the program, the content, the courses. Most of the times you will see the staff that teaches in the program. We tell you something about career perspectives. So everything you need to know will be there, including the application and admissions information. If you have general questions, you can always contact study@leidenunif.nl. And I think maybe Diana will tell a little bit about this as well, but we soon have online open master's days. And this is really a great way of getting to know the law school, but also our programs, because they will give short lectures, presentations, there will be Q&A sessions. So it will be nice, to visit those online open days. So, and then, of course, if you have application information questions, you can contact info@leidenunif.nl. As I mentioned before, the program coordinator, they are happy to answer any questions you may have. We're on all social media, basically Insta, Facebook, Twitter. So it might be fun to join us there. And if you have any questions for me, you can also reach out to me by email. My email address is on this sheet. And I think that was it for me. Naz, is there anything more you'd like to share with the students about Leiden, about studying in Leiden, about, well, whatever?
I think, first of all, choosing a program is a very personal experience. There are no good or bad programs. They are just suitable for you or not. For me, I searched through the website, and there's also a part called e-prospectus, which details the courses that are to be taken. And you can even stalk some of the professors and see what they do, because they can sometimes help you with your careers and provide mentorship, etc. So I think that's really important. What I would suggest, if you can't come right now, because like everyone can't just pull out 20,000 euros with the current exchange rates, delaying your application is not a bad idea, because Leiden is definitely worth coming. But every year you add to your CV as a work experience, that really counts. And it even gives you a more chance to get in the program you want, instead of taking your chance away from applying. So otherwise, what I would suggest, I don't know, I don't really have a specific thing in mind. If there are certain questions, I can try to answer them.
Yeah, well, thank you so far. Diana.
Well, what I've noticed is that there are a lot of questions regarding the GPA. Mm-hmm. And also, like you mentioned before, Annette, in your presentation, the GPA requirements. Where is that? I don't know if you can answer this question. Exactly stated also on the website, because you mentioned in your presentation. I'm looking for it myself.
Yeah.
and also, if you have a lower GPA, is it still can they still apply?
No, you can still apply. It's basically with the programs, we are allowed to select. So, of course, we look for good students. But I think I mentioned it before already. We look at all aspects of your application. So we don't only look at grades, or we don't only look at your motivation, but we look at all aspects of your application together. So if your grades are a little bit lower, not what I just told you, but lower than that. But if you have a very strong motivation or a strong CV, good letters of recommendation, you will definitely have a chance. So you always should try. I don't know, Naz, can you tell us, do you know?
Can I add something on that?
Yeah.
I didn't know that there was a 3.5 GPA requirement while applying. My GPA was only 3.25, I think. But as you said, it's like a complete package, not just the GPA. But the programs, especially the advanced ones, are really rigorous. You have to study a lot. You have to read a lot. Like, I know the Turkish systems and the thick textbooks we have, but you have to read even more than that. So if you don't have the proper discipline and study habits, this is not the place to gain those habits. So GPA is kind of reflective of your studying habits. That's why they consider it, but it's not the end of the world if your GPA is not that high.
Good. No, I think that's perfectly clear, and I think this is also the reason why we don't state them on the website, because it's not mandatory to have those GPAs, but of course we look at with all aspects. So don't worry if your GPA is lower than this. Definitely apply if you have a strong CV, strong motivation, etc.
Okay, great. Of course, there are also some questions regarding if you have to learn Dutch coming to Leiden.
Well, that's a good question.
Do you know a little bit of Dutch, Nas?
I only know goedemorgen, but when I say it, people know that I'm not Dutch and they switch to English, so I don't say that. I say ja, nee, dankjewel, alsjeblieft, and tot ziens. And that covers like 90% of my daily encounters with people.
The basic words. No, to be honest, when you come to the Netherlands, you do not need to learn Dutch, because I think 87% of the Dutch population speaks English. So whether it's somebody in the supermarket or the bus driver, they will at least speak some English. During the program, everything will be in English. I think our university is pretty much bilingual. Most of the signs everywhere are both in Dutch and in English. But if you intend to stay in the Netherlands afterwards, because you get to have a so-called search year, so you can stay in the Netherlands after your graduation for 1 year to look for a job, then it might be useful to learn Dutch, because even though we're a very international country and most of us speak English, in the workplace, it can be a little bit different, and it will definitely help you if you are able to speak Dutch. We have a language center, academic language center. They offer all kinds of Dutch courses, and students are welcome to join one of those courses. But for your 1 year in the Netherlands, and I think, Nas, that's probably also your experience. And the thing, of course, is as soon as you start talking Dutch, they will speak English to you, because they hear that you're from another country. So it will actually be quite difficult to learn Dutch. But I think you notice that you can get around by not speaking Dutch, right?
Like reading and understanding is easy, because I know a bit of German too. But pronunciation is where I lose it completely with the G sounds, and it's sometimes hard to describe like places. For example, the street I live in has a G sound in it, and the taxi drivers never understand it when I say it. I always have to write it down. But everyone speaks perfect English. Like the cash register person speaks better English than I do. It's so weird. Like everyone is really, really good, so there's no problem on that part. But sometimes there are written communications with the municipality and the state institutions. For that ones, I use Google Translate, but otherwise it goes perfectly fine. Like when someone talks to you in Dutch, you say, "Do you speak English?" And then they switch to English, and it's all right.
Yeah. So hopefully that answers your question about the language.
Yeah, great. There's also someone who asked if there are any dual degree diploma programs with American universities.
No.
Do you know that, maybe?
No. I think these programs are intensive enough as it is. So doing it in 2 different countries, we might have those in the future. I know they've been talking about double degrees or dual degrees, but so far we only have, we work together with many American universities, but we do not offer joint programs with them.
Okay. And then there was a question like, how do we know if a program is an advanced program or a regular program?
It will say so on the website.
Yeah, you can look in the title of your master program on the website. It specifically says advanced LLM behind it. So
but basically, the majority, we have 9 advanced master's programs and 4 regular master's programs. And of those regular master's programs, 2 of them are MSc, Master of Science programs, the Crime and Criminal Justice and the Law and Society program. Yeah.
Let me see what else. Oh, indeed, someone asked about job opportunities. Of course, that differs also per program. But like you said, you just said about the additional year after your studies.
Yeah, the search year.
The search
yeah, with
year,
finding
indeed.
jobs, it's difficult to tell. It also very much depends on the student, of course, and their qualities and their connections and how they're performing during their year. We know that many of our alumni have been able to find jobs in The Hague or in Brussels or in other places, but it depends on various conditions, of course, whether that's the case. So it will not be impossible to find something, but it's also not like all the jobs are waiting on your doorstep, so to speak. So I don't know, Naz, did you already think about what you wanted to do after your program, or?
I don't know, because like many of like I can't be admitted to the Dutch bar because I don't know Dutch, and for many jobs, conversational Dutch is not enough. Like you have to know legal Dutch, so that limits the job offerings a lot. But I know some people who work in companies as in-house lawyers. There's a lot of jobs for that, but most of them require job experience. So that's why I was telling earlier, like working a few years in Turkey before coming might not be such a bad idea after all, because that increases your employability significantly. I don't know what I'm going to do. And I'm kind of relying on the workshops, and I think I'll start looking for internships around April, because right now the program is so intense. I have to study a lot, and there's certainly no time to manage good grades and an internship, because internships are usually 35 hours a week. And that's kind of too much to handle at the same time with the studies.
I agree. Yeah. Usually we don't, we do have students who do internships during their program, but it's difficult, I think. It's difficult to combine, and it's very intensive. And usually if the internship has many hours, you really have to ask for permission of the program director, whether it's actually possible to do so. So we don't really advise that all the time, but yeah. So, and I also read some questions about the email addresses. Is that correct?
Yeah,
Diana?
That's true. Yeah. They could not read it, so we can add them also in the.
Wait, let me. I know my own email address by heart, of course, but I will write down the other ones.
And we also have indeed some of the people who participated today were also interested in other programs within Leiden University. For example, I've noticed political science, biomedical science, computer science, philosophy. So also to those people, I would really advise to register for our indeed master open days. They were not the 11th and 12th of March, Annette. They were the 10th and 11th of March.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's okay. So everybody, because then on those days, there are specific program presentations from the lecturers themselves from the programs, and also students. And they can tell you really more in depth about the specific programs. Registration opens from the 3rd of February. And on the homepage of Leiden University, you can find a direct link to the Master Open Days. And yeah, you can register for any presentation you like, more than one. So yeah, you get a better view of the certain program you're interested in. Just wanted to add that. I don't know if there are people who have more questions, I believe.
Oh, I see a question. That's actually a good one about public international law.
Yeah.
It is indeed offered as a regular master's program and as an advanced master's program. And the biggest difference is with the advanced master's program, you have the possibility to specialize either in international criminal law or in peace, justice, and development. And of course, as is the case with all advanced master's programs, we do look for people with some kind of work experience, preferably. So that would be the biggest difference, aside from the fact that the public international law program, the regular one, will be much larger because it's a very popular program with Dutch students as well. So the group will be much bigger than the advanced master's program. So that's also an answer to your question.
There's
dormitory options. Sorry?
There's also European law program, both regular LLM and advanced LLM, right?
A little bit different, because the European law program, the regular one, has a different content than the European and International Business Law program or the European and International Human Rights Law program. So it would also be very good to check out the content of the programs. You can find it on the web pages. You can see which courses are taught during those programs. And I think really choose the subjects that appeal most to you and you find most interesting. I think that's the best way to choose the right program for you.
Yeah.
Let me see.
And also if an internship, but Nas already replied, if an internship, student internship is enough for work experience, but that also differs, of course, how long maybe and where and how relevant. Yeah.
Any other questions?
Let's see. I think we almost ran out. No specific questions anymore for Nas, for Annette, or for me. No. Who can they email if they have any questions more about the programs?
Well, for the programs themselves, it might be best to contact the program coordinator, and the contact details are on the program page. For example, for Ness's program, Sheena Bruce is the program coordinator. Her contact details are on the webpage for European and International Business Law, and every program has different contact details. So it would be best to contact the program director with questions about the program.
Yeah. And then there's also someone, I believe, who would like to know more about PhD programs.
Interesting. Yeah, we're unfortunately, my office is the Office for International Education, so not really PhD, because PhD is research in the Netherlands. But we do, of course, offer PhD positions. And what sometimes also happens, if you really stand out as an excellent student during your program, you might even be approached to become become a PhD student and become part of a research program. Most of the time, the PhD job openings are listed on our vacancy website. So it's best to go to our vacancy website on Leiden University, the website, and check out whether something is available. Otherwise, let me see,
I've just shared a link.
Yeah.
To Ismail, I believe, where there's more information about our PhD.
Yeah, because I was going to say our law school has a separate graduate school, the Meijers Institute, and they also have information available about doing a law PhD. So, but it's not a fixed program. It's a lot of research. You do get some courses in the beginning about methodology, etc. But it's not like some other countries where you first have to go through a first year full of courses. You really do research, and sometimes you also have to teach at the same time.
Yeah. And there's also a question regarding, indeed, if you can do one of our master programs and at the same time work with a sponsorship.
Can I answer that?
Really yeah, do you know something? Yeah.
I have a friend who applied from Turkey to study in Delft University, because there wasn't the relevant program here, and because Leiden is not a technical university, you can also consider that. The sponsorships are usually arranged back in Turkey. What was that? TEV usually collects all of the fundings for sponsorships, so that's kind of hard. But some large companies like Kort Sabancı, etc., you can contact their HRs or C-suite people and maybe find your way to a sponsorship if you can show that you're really motivated. They make you sign a contract, and sometimes there's a thesis collaboration, etc. But that's something you arrange from back in Turkey before applying to studying here. When you're accepted during that time, because at some point while applying for residence permit, you have to show, even if you're sponsored or not, you have to show that you have sufficient funds to stay in the Netherlands to study and to stay, two separate funds. And then you have to do that before that deadline comes. So it's a tight deadline, and it's a really, really long shot, but it's not impossible. You can do it at some point. if you try really, really hard.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Good information. Yeah. Did we miss any other questions? Maybe don't think so. Look, you get thumbs up. Well, I believe we managed to do it in an hour, within the hour.
Yes, it looks like you covered all of the questions, you guys.
Yeah.
Thank you for your answers.
There's an AI law program, I think, but I'm not sure. Maybe the digital technologies program covered that.
There is some, yeah.
But our Faculty of Global Affairs and Governance also has some programs in this field, so it might also be good to check them out.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. So
if that was all, I would like to thank everybody for attending this session and for your attention. I would like to thank Naz for her, sharing her experiences. I hope that was useful to the students. I think, it's always nice. We tell the official stuff, but it's always nice to hear from students, I think. And it was also nice for me, actually, to hear your experience. So that was also good. Diana, also thank you very much for, coordinating everything and taking care of the questions in the chat. So thank you for that. So thank you all. Also, of course, for IEFT, who organized the IEFT Talks about studying Leiden Law School. So thank you.
Yes, thank you very much for the great presentation, Diana, Annette, and Naz. It was a really informative session for the attendees, and you covered all of the questions. Thank you for your answers too. Also, I would like to thank the participants in Turkish as well. Katıldığınız için teşekkür ederiz arkadaşlar. Umarım sizin için de faydalı bir webinar olmuştur. Leiden University ile ilgili diğer sorularınız için chat kısmında paylaşılmış olan mail adreslerinden Diana ve Annet'e ulaşabilirsiniz. Bir sonraki webinarlarımızda görüşmek üzere. Thank you very much again, you guys. It was a pleasure to have you in IEFT Talks.
İyi akşamlar.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.